Welcome back. Today we will be talking about the quadratic equations. It will be a quick review of what you have learned in Algebra 1 about the quadratic. So when we are talking about the quadratic equations are nothing but they are the second degree polynomial equations, because if you remember, quadratic has the power of square. We can write quadratic equation in the general form. So the general form will be ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. This is the standard form or the general form. There are various ways to solve the quadratic. We will be discussing about factoring. Another way is to extracting the square roots. And we will discuss each and every one of them one by one in this lesson video. So this will be a little bit longer, but it will give you the whole entire review of quadratic. The third one is completing the squares. It is very important. You will find completing the squares even when you will learn the calculus. Quadratic formula, that is the last way we will be solving the quadratic equations. So let's get started and let's do the first thing, that is factoring. So number one, we will be talking about factoring the quadratic. So let's understand it with one example. So this is the example, and we will try to solve it using factoring. To solve by factoring, always remember you need to rewrite it in a general form or the standard form. So we just listed the standard form. It is ax squared plus bx plus c. That means I need to take all the numbers, all the constants on the left hand side, and on the right hand side it will be just 0. Now once that is done, I can define what is a, what is b, and what is c. You might have learned a different method of factoring, the diamond method or the square method. What method works for me is this. I divided them into b and ac. So I form a table, a times c, that is a multiplication, and for b we are looking for any two numbers that are added or subtracted together should generate this. For ac, the same two numbers when multiplied together should give me a times c. So b in this case is negative 3x and ac is negative 10x squared. So any two numbers multiplied together should give you negative 10x squared, but added or subtracted together should give you negative 3x. So if you look at the factors, 5 and 2 will give me the same result. So negative 5x and 2x will give you negative 10x squared, and negative 5x plus 2x will give you negative 3x. So now what we will do, we will replace the negative 3x with this new factored form, negative 5x plus 2x. So let's rewrite it. So 2x squared minus 5x plus 2x, and the rest of the equation will remain as it is. Now once that is done, now we have four terms. We will try to factor the first two terms together. So I can factor out x, and in the parentheses it will be 2x minus 5. At this point we will do some cheating. We will rewrite 2x minus 5 again, and then go back to the equation and see how you can make 2x minus 5 as per the given equation. So we have the same thing. So we are just multiplying by 1. And this will give you the factored form. So we have 2x minus 5 and then x plus 1 is equal to 0. If they are asking to find the solution, we can equate both of them equal to 0 one by one to get the value of x. So when they are asking for the solution, they are asking you to calculate or to find out what will be the x. So we will get x is equal to negative 1 and x is equal to 5/2. It is a good way of solving the problem to check your answer. How you can check your answer? You can plug the solved answer, that means x is equal to negative 1 and 5/2, one by one in the original equation. And if the original equation matches right hand side and the left hand side, that means our answer is correct. Otherwise it will be an extraneous solution. I want you to try one question for me, please. So try 2x squared plus 8x, and let's see, we can do minus 8 is equal to 0. Try and let's see if you are able to factor it. If you are not able to factor it, then we can use another method that we will discuss later in this video. But give it a try if it is factorable or not. So the second method of factoring is called extracting the square roots. So as the name suggests, we will have a square root and then we need to simplify that square root. So a few things to remember when you are using this method. So we are entering with the assumption that we have u squared is equal to d, and provided d is greater than 0, we will get two roots. Two roots means the solution. Two solutions for u. U will be greater than square root of d, and u will be negative square root of d. You can rewrite it as u is equal to plus minus radical of d. So let's take two quick examples. So we have 3x squared is equal to 36. So first I will get rid of 3 by dividing both sides by 3. So that will give you x squared is equal to 12. At this point I can take the radical both sides, which will give me plus minus radical of 12. You can you can simplify it, because if you factor 12 you will get 4 and 3, and radical of 4 is nothing but 2. So you can simplify it further. Let's take another example. X minus 3 whole square is equal to 7. So take radical both sides. And then I need to get rid of 3 because to isolate x. So my answer will be 3 plus minus radical 7. And that's it. This is how you will do extracting square roots. Try few questions. So x minus 1 squared is equal to 10, and the another question that you can try is 5x squared is equal to 25. Now let's jump to the most important, completing the squares, because I have seen students, they get very confused with completing the squares. But trust me, if you follow certain rules and you are careful when solving the quadratic equation, it is a smooth sailing. It is fun to solve completing the squares. So the few things that you need to keep in mind is that the leading coefficient should always be 1. And if it is not 1, then you can make it 1 by dividing the whole entire equation by the leading coefficient to make it 1. That is the prerequisite for completing the square. And I will show you what will happen if you don't divide the equation by the leading coefficient to make it 1, and what error it can generate. So, then equation by the leading coefficient to make it 1. Okay, let's write it in the standard form first. So we can say rewrite in ax squared plus bx plus c form, which is nothing but the standard or the general form. So you can see I'm rewriting it in ax squared plus bx is equal to c. So the general form, we write ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. We are taking c on the another side, so we take constant on the right hand side. All the x terms, they remain on the left hand side. So again, we can say ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0 should be written as ax squared plus bx, and the constant will go on the right hand side. Once that is done, we will take half of b, square it, and add to both sides. And if you remember from Algebra 1, you have learned the binomial addition, which says a plus b whole squared is nothing but a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So you will need this property to solve the complete the square. So this is the only thing that you need to remember. Rewrite this equation, take half of b, square it, and add to both sides, and then use a plus b whole squared. Let's take one example. Let's see what will happen if you don't divide both sides by the leading coefficient to make the leading coefficient 1. If leading coefficient is 1, then you don't have to divide. You can just get started by rewriting the general equation into ax squared plus bx is equal to negative c. So just watch carefully. I will not divide with the leading coefficient. I'm not making it as 1. So we will take half of b, square it, and add to both sides. Everything will remain the same, but the leading coefficient is not changed. So 8 over 2 squared, and then I will add 8 over 2 squared on the right hand side as well. Now at this point, you can see you are at the dead end. If you try to use a plus b whole squared, you cannot, because this is not in the form of a plus b whole squared. So even if you make a mistake and you end up with this, just tell yourself, oh, this is my mistake, I need to have a leading coefficient as 1. So this is a mistake. Always make the leading coefficient 1, because you should be able to solve the left hand side in the form of a plus b whole squared. So that is a clue for you. So the correct way to solve it, let's divide everything by 2. And don't be scared of fraction. Fractions are just numbers. They are your friend. So I multiply by 1/2, which is nothing but dividing by 2. This will create leading coefficient as 1. And it will work smoothly like magic. Now rewrite, take the constant on the right hand side, negative 3/2. At this point, take half of b is 4 in this case, and square it, and we will add to both sides. And you will see at this point, the left hand side will be converted, it can be written as a plus b whole squared. That's what we want. And I can just write 4/2 as 2 squared as well. So the left hand side is x plus 2 whole squared. This is a squared, this is b squared, this is 2ab, because 4x can be written as 2 times 2 times x. So I can rewrite as x 2 times 2 times x plus 2 squared. And we can solve the left hand side. X plus 2 whole squared is equal to, this will be 5/2. How I got 5/2? Because with dealing with the fraction, adding or subtracting with the fractions, you need to make the common denominators. Don't forget that. Now at this point, we got x plus 2 whole squared is equal to 5/2. Now this is the same as the method number 2. So method number 2 was extracting the square root, right? So we can take radical both sides. if I take radical both sides, I will get x plus 2 is equal to plus minus radical of 5 half. And then from here I can solve for x. Let's quickly solve it for x. So I will get negative 2 plus minus radical 5 over 2. We don't like radical in the denominator. So at this point I can conjugate, not conjugate, rationalize, because there is no other term, so rationalize it. So this will give you negative 2 plus minus radical 10 over 2. And you can write the two roots separately. And the other way, some books might write in this way, combining the two terms together. This is how complete the square will work, and I personally like complete the square a lot. With practice, I know you can understand it better and you will be able to solve it much better for completing the squares. Now let's talk about the other method, the last one, that is a quadratic formula. Quadratic formula is a game changer, right? It saves your time, and if you struggle with factoring or any other thing, any other method, quadratic formula is always there to help you out. So the standard equation as it is, what we have discussed earlier, provided a is not equal to 0. So this is how we will write the quadratic formula. Minus b plus minus radical of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Memorize it. If someone wakes you up in the middle of the night, you should be able to recite the quadratic formula. This is how it works. So once you memorize it, it will stay with you forever. So there's a few things that you need to understand with this quadratic formula. If you see inside the radical, we have b squared minus 4ac. This is very important. This helps you to determine how many solutions we are looking for in a particular question. So b squared minus 4ac is called discriminant, or in a short form you can write it as d. So how it works is this. If b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, then how many solutions will it generate? If it is less than 0, then how many solutions? Or if it is equal to 0, then what will happen? So let's write all the scenarios. So if d is greater than 0, then you will get 2 solutions. If d is less than 0, then we are looking for no solution, because we cannot take the radical of a negative number. So no solution in the set of real numbers. We are talking in terms of real numbers, not the imaginary number. And d, when d is 0, then only we are looking for only one solution. Right? So if you know d, you know you can predict how many solutions will be there. Let's understand it with one example. If you try to factor it out, it will be a little problematic. But using a quadratic formula, it is easier. So let's first calculate and predict how many solutions will be there. So b squared minus 4ac, let's define what is a, b, and c. Plug it back in the discriminant. Remember, if discriminant is positive, then we are looking for 2 solutions. So we will get 124, which is greater than 0. That means we are looking for 2 solutions for this particular question. Now we know we are looking for 2 solutions. Let's plug it in the quadratic formula, which is negative b plus minus radical of discriminant divided by 2a. And we have already calculated b squared minus 4ac, so it will not take a whole lot of time. So negative b, that means negative 2 plus minus radical of 124 divided by 2 times 3, because a is 3. If you simplify it, you will get 2 radical 31 over 6, because what are the factors of 124? We can factor the 124 as 2 times 62, and 62 can be factored as 2 times 31. So this is your answer that we are looking for. Right? It is easy peasy. Why don't you try a question for me and practice quadratic formula? If you remember, I gave you the same problem for the first method, factoring. If you are not able to factor this equation as per the first method, try using the quadratic and let me know if it works with the quadratic. Now let's understand an application of this quadratic. Now let's say area of a rectangular room is 154 feet squared, and the dimension of the room is such that it is 3 feet longer than its width. So let's sketch it out. So we are looking for width and the length is w plus 3. So as you know, the area of a rectangle is length times width. So length is, in this case, is w plus 3. Can I rewrite everything for the area? So length times width, that means w times w plus 3 is area. Area is given as 154. Let's plug everything back in the equation. So distribute w with w and w with 3 as well. So w squared plus 3w is equal to 154. Now this is a beautiful quadratic. Let's take 154 on the left hand side and factor it out. So if you factor it out, you will get w plus 14 and w minus 11 is equal to 0, and we can get two solutions. I use the B and AC method. So let's put both the factors equal to 0 to get the value of w. So we have one value as negative and the another value as positive. Do you think we can have a negative dimension of a room? No. So this is extraneous solution and we will reject it. So the only solution that we are looking for is the width is 11 feet. So W is 11 feet. I hope all these 4 methods made sense, and after this we will do another application. Okay, so the another application that we are looking for, it is quite important. You will learn more about this in pre-calculus and calculus. So let's get started. So if I say that the general equation that gives the height of an object, now when we are talking about the height of the object, we are talking about either the object is falling or vertically projected into the air, right? Vertically projected into the air, or we are talking in terms of a falling object. So to get that general equation, this kind of equation is called position equation. It's called position equation. And you can write this equation as, now watch carefully, what is the equation? So the equation is S is equal to negative 16t squared plus V0 t plus S0. There are so many new terms. Let's understand. S is nothing but the height of the object in feet. Then t is time in seconds. V0 is initial velocity, and velocity is represented in feet per second because it is a rate. And S0 is the initial height, again in feet. So take a moment, write this thing down in your notebook because it will help you with the more application problems. Okay, so this is very important. Let me highlight it. And you need to understand what each and everything represent, because if you know what everything represent, then it is easier for you to understand the word problem clearly. Let's take one example. So let's take let's say it is a building or a height or whatever it is, and someone is standing on the top of it, and that person dropped any object and it is falling on the ground. So few things are given to us. So the height of this building is 196 feet. This is given. This is my height, 196 feet height. And they are asking us how long will it take for the object to reach the ground. So again, understand the scenario. Someone is standing on the wall or any height is 196 feet, and they dropped an object. We need to calculate how long will it take for that object to reach the surface or reach the ground. So there are few things that you need to understand in this problem. We have the object, and when they are talking about hitting the ground, what will be the initial velocity? What will be the height? So let's write the position equation first. So height, that means S0, initial height is 196, right? Because that person is standing at the height of 196. But the initial velocity is 0. And height is just the 0 because we are looking for when it will hit the ground. When it will hit the ground, then there is no height, right? It is a ground level. So S will be considered as 0. There is no initial velocity because he is standing, he is just dropping the object. So we have all these parameters ready. Let's plug it back in the equation. So negative 16t squared, V0 is 0, t, and S0 is 196. Let's clean this up and you will get negative 16t squared plus 196 is equal to 0. I can rewrite this equation as 16t squared is equal to 196, and at this point divide both sides by 16. So you will get 196 over 16. You can convert it into a decimal if you want, 12.25, and if you take the radical you will get approximately 3.5 seconds. Or you can take radical both sides without converting into a decimal, and then you will get, because 196 is a square of 14 and 16 is a square of 4, so 14/4, which you can convert it into a decimal as 3.5. So it will take approximately 3.5 seconds for the object to reach the ground. So you need to write the word sentence properly because it is a word problem. Don't leave your answer as t is equal to 3.5. You need to write the units properly. You need to write the last word sentence. So this is the whole entire gist of the quadratic, and I hope it was meaningful, and just keep on practicing. It is very, very important, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.